Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
Hi humans! Before we kick off the episode, a quick announcement. Our very own Mike Christensen...
That's me, I'm Mike Christensen.
...will be joining the Real Women of Gaming for their Cards Against Sobriety event this Saturday, November 21st, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on their Twitch channel. There will be an exclusive giveaway, and Partial Arc is getting in on the fun, including a comic or two that we've discussed on this podcast.
Jimmy Olsen. Enough said.
Oh yeah, definitely check it out. And with that said, let's start the show.
I'm here to save the day. I'm here to save the day.
Soon I will be invincible. Because comics.
Welcome to Because Comics. This is episode 41. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host, the Knight Riding, Mike Christensen.
I can't think of a Knight Rider reference. I literally know that. I know there's a talking car.
Yep.
I know there's a David Hasselhoff.
There is a David Hasselhoff.
And
there are many of them, but this one's probably the most well-known David Hasselhoff.
And a Mr. Feeney, because he's the voice of Kit, the Knight Rider. But I've never seen it, so I didn't even see like the 2009 like NBC reboot or whatever.
Oh really? There was a reboot of it?
Was it a reboot? Was it a like, hey, it's the same car but a new sexy young guy? Like,
of course.
I know nothing about it.
That car only responds to sexy young guys. If you sit in it and you're above 35, it kicks you out.
How old did you think David Hasselhoff was when he did that
He
show?
was 22, right?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I'm just kidding. He was 18 years old with that head of hair. All right, guys. So typically we kick off each episode without talking about David Hasselhoff. We talk about the comics we're reading.
Jay, when we go to the comic book store, as we all do, or go to comiXology.com like some of us do, and we say to the clerk or the internet, hey, I would like to pick up, what should we be saying at the end of that sentence?
Well, if there is a beautiful decorative wreath outside and you step in and you're just enjoying the warm holiday atmosphere, you might pick up Boom's new Klaus, written by Grant Morrison and drawn by Dan Mora, which I gotta give you the pitch of this.
It's Klaus.
It's Klaus, Klaus. The press release that Boom put out when this was first announced is this.
I remember this conversation that you and I had.
This is the tale of one man and his wolf against a totalitarian state and the ancient evil that sustains it. Part action thriller, part sword and sorcery, part romance, part science fiction. Klaus has given us free rein to revamp, reinvent, reimagine a classic superhero for the 21st century. He's making a list, and he's checking it twice. This Christmas, it's all about psychedelic shamanism, anti-authoritarian guerrilla gift-giving, and the jingle bells of freedom. That's right, Klaus is Santa Claus Year One, everybody.
Yeah, you guys, I feel like you got it a little bit.
Probably.
But the excitement in Jay's voice when he found out about this comic and then read that description, this was months ago.
Yeah.
And he bookmarked it. He was like, I'm going to talk about that.
I'm going to talk about this comic when it comes out. I read the press release before I knew who wrote it.
Oh, really?
And then when I saw that it was Grant Morrison, I was like, oh my God, this is just going to be buckets of crazy. And guys, holy crap, is this comic amazing. Primarily because this is basically Batman Year One, but for Santa Claus. And if you haven't listened to any of the other episodes of this podcast, fun fact, I kind of like Batman. So,
true.
How well does this line up with Batman Year One? If anyone doesn't know, Batman Year One, written by Frank Miller, considered probably the best Batman story comic ever.
It's a fair assessment.
And it's basically what Batman Begins was based off of. The first year of Batman getting his start, coming back to Gotham and being like, I'm going to be a guy dressed up like Dracula and fight people.
It's the biggest influence on Batman Begins, yeah.
Yeah. First off, we've got a hero returning to a city he left to train in the wilderness.
Okay.
The city he returns to is Grimsvig, a made-up city. Now, 2, it's completely changed since he's left, and for the worse, obviously. 3, the local authority has been bought off by a single crime family, also like Batman Year One.
Wow.
4, Alfred is a wolf. Okay, that one was reaching. 5, there is a Jim Gordon analog with Sergeant Carl Linkvist.
Is he also like a co-narrator?
He's not a co-narrator,
Okay.
but he's introduced in the first issue, and it's very clearly like he's the only good person outside of our main character.
Got it.
So like, there's a little bit more beyond this. I don't want to spoil what else might tie
Does
into
he
this
get
Batman Year
the
One.
crap beaten out of him by a prostitute themed like a cat?
He doesn't get the crap beat out of him by a prostitute. Not yet. Maybe soon. Maybe soon. But there's a lot of other stuff. Also, if a Batman influence was enough to make me enjoy this comic so much, it also opens a lot like a D&D adventure. Because as soon as Klaus arrives in the town, he goes goes directly to a tavern for some ale and an expositioning bartender, which is standard D&D fare. Also, it's weird because in this scene with the bartender, he asks where all the men have gone, because when he gets to the town, it's like very empty. There's like a few people outside, but he says like, where are all the men? Which is odd because the bartender is clearly a man. So I don't know. Anyways, he's also approached by guards in the city who aren't a fan of his kind of words.
Are they also men?
They're also men.
Weird line of questioning.
Yeah, weird line of questioning. Almost, actually, when I really think about it, almost everybody he meets in this town is a man. So again, that question, very strange. Anyways, this is the biggest one. Next, we learn that these dudes work for Lord Magnus, who, let's be frank, is a name straight up from a D&D campaign.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, Lord Magnus, not like King or Sheriff of Nottingham. It's just Lord Magnus.
Yeah.
And guys, the art in the comic is amazing. The opening scenes playing out like very grim. They even evoke kind of like this sad loneliness. While the few final pages really shows how Dan Mora's range, like where some of that crazy psychedelic shamanism starts to come into play. And if at some point, I have to say this is my dream, if at some point in this comic run, because it's only a limited series. It's, I think, about 5-issue run.
Okay.
And if at some point we see Klaus just break in through a window and is rocking a flowing red cape, throwing sharpened candy canes like batarangs, I will just be the happiest person.
You already seem like the happiest
I'm
person.
so happy. It's just the craziest in the best way comic. Guys, definitely pick up Klaus. All right, Mike. So that was my poll. What is your poll for this episode?
My poll is also a reboot of a beloved character.
Ooh.
A classic from many
Is it the
people's
Easter Bunny?
childhoods. It's Archie.
Oh!
This is the Archie reboot. Archie Comics recently rebooted a lot of their characters in their books with a sort of new take and a more kind of grounded, real-world take on these characters.
And Mike, if you could take a very slow explanation of Archie, because I've never heard of Archie, and I don't think our listeners have.
We've discussed Archie several times on this podcast.
Yep.
I have not grown up reading Archie, but like
Neither have I.
in the last couple years, I got real into Archie comics.
Just way in there.
But the new reboot is written by Mark Waid, and
It was just, I mean,
And
I don't need any more information.
well, here's the other piece of information: the art is by Fiona Staples, the
goodness.
the artist of Saga.
Jesus. That's a, wow, that's a really good
It's a
team.
murderer's row.
Yeah.
The Jughead comic, which I'm not talking about today, but I am going to mention because it's written by Chip Zdarsky,
Whoa.
who writes Howard the Duck and is the artist for Sex Criminals.
Did the Archie people look at what's happening with Marvel Star Wars and were like, we got to get in on this?
And it's drawn by Erica Henderson, who draws Unbeatable Squirrel Girl.
holy crap.
Yeah, they have really reinvented their style.
Jeez, Archie comics are crushing it
But
these
the
days.
new comic opens with Archie sort of talking to the camera throughout the series, basically like Ferris Bueller or John Cusack from High Fidelity, and telling you about how, you know, it's not this will they, won't they with Betty and Veronica. It's Veronica's yet to move to the town. She moves to the town in the first few issues.
Is this kind of like the inciting incident, sort of?
But he and Betty have broken up. They were together. They've broken up. They're on weird terms, but they maintain like, no one's at fault, guys. And everyone's trying to like put them back together. And like Jughead's getting dragged in by other people who are like well-meaning. And they're like, Jughead, you have to see that this is best for them. Here's a terrible plan to get them back together. And Jughead's like, this is not working.
You
Like,
guys are the worst.
you guys are morons. But it's really well done and like very down to earth in a way that like, because Archie's always kind of just wacky shenanigans. And
Yeah.
like, there's reference to the fact that like, you know, we see him working part-time jobs and like lighting things on fire
good.
or like flooding rooms and stuff. Like, you know, there's still that element of
that
Archie,
shtickness is still there.
but it feels more like earnest. And I mean, Archie's always been earnest, but it just feels very like straightforward. Like, hey, these are the characters. We're going to kind of bring them down to your level and just kind of get to know them. And having Archie talk to the camera and being able to be like, yeah, here's my dad. And like, this is like me learning music and stuff. Like, it's just really inviting. And I really
nice.
enjoy it. Like, and if you have never read an Archie comic, it's not the same style, but it's definitely got the same
Soul.
elements. Yeah, the soul is still there of those old comics. And it's a great opportunity to like come in. It's like an actual like regular comic. Because Archie's always been like, hey, here's like 3 random little wacky stories. Or like,
Right.
Or the one issue is just like, hey, here's Archie v Occupy Wall Street. Or it's like,
or
just like,
versus a predator.
or well, I mean, yeah, they have their weird miniseries and
Yeah.
things, but like these single issues are usually like, hey, here's the Archie's gonna date the character from Josie and the Pussycats.
It's basically like a classic like cartoon TV show where like the end of it just resets. Like nothing has really been affected. While
like most comics were for a very long time.
Right.
And if we're honest, comics still go to that reset button.
Yeah.
More often than we'd like to think they do, because that is the nature of comics.
But in some ways, they do keep a lot of that old canon. I mean, there's more progression there. But while with Archie comics is very classically like almost in the same place in a lot of the times when you open it up, just different shenanigans.
Exactly. There's not a lot of continuity with Archie, and you don't really need to worry about it. But here it's like a serialized story. And just check it out, guys. I mean, Mark Waid, amazing. Fiona Staples, amazing.
Again, just those two things. I don't need any more information, but I still like Archie, so I'm down.
There you go. Just check it out. It's delightful.
All right. Well, that was a great pull, and that'll be taking us into our main segment. Mike, kick things off.
The Vision and Scarlet Witch, number 6. The Mutant Who Came to Dinner. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.
It's right around the corner, and we're talking about a Thanksgiving episode of a 12-issue Vision and Scarlet Witch miniseries, which actually, I believe, takes place over the course of a year. So, like, the next issue after this is about Christmas, the one before is about Halloween. There's one...
It's holiday-themed?
Well, not all of them, but there was one... The title was A Taxing Time, and I wonder, is that about tax season? I don't know.
Is tax season a holiday?
I don't know.
Maybe in the Marvel Universe, tax season is a pretty big special time.
Maybe, but regardless, it's a 12-issue miniseries. It's actually been collected into a trade paperback called Avengers: Vision and Scarlet Witch: A Year in the Life. And this issue is called No Strings Attached. I don't know why, because the cover blurb, A Mutant Who Came to Dinner, is far more accurate and interesting. But so
it has nothing to do with no strings attached. Relationship?
I don't really know where they're going with no strings attached. It's a weird phrase.
It was a plug for that movie that was coming out at the time, right?
No, this comic's from 1986.
Okay.
It's from 1986. It's written by Steve Englehart, penciler Richard Howell, and the inker is Frank Springer. And we start with a spaceship departing the moon.
Okay.
And floating down into the atmosphere. It lands in New Jersey. The narration tells us not far from where Orson Welles set his version of War of the Worlds. 3 figures emerge from the spaceship, and they approach a house that we've seen before. Not us on the podcast, but us reading the comic.
Okay, sure.
Where one fateful moment later, and they open the door, and it's Quicksilver, Pietro, his wife, Crystal, who is a member of the Inhumans.
Okay.
The people who live on the moon. And their little daughter, Luna. And they are visiting the Vision and Scarlet Witch for Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's nice.
The Vision and Scarlet Witch at this point are married.
Oh, great.
And expecting.
Oh.
They're expecting a child.
A lot of questions for that.
We will, at some point, talk about the time where we find out that her twins were manifestations of part of the soul of the devil, but we are not discussing that today. We don't know that yet, Jay. We are not discussing that today. They're members of the Young Avengers, but we'll get to that.
Oh, good.
We will
Okay.
We will at some point talk about Scarlet Witch's maybe demon children, but that is not the topic of today's subject.
Oh, Wiccan.
Today, it's Thanksgiving. The attendees include Captain America, the Human Torch, Doctor Strange, and the Wasp. Cap and the Wasp are the only members of the Avengers who could make it, and Doctor Strange is there as the physician during Wanda's pregnancy. He's her doctor.
What? Doctor Strange was Wanda's physician?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense when your husband is a robot cyborg.
And you yourself are a magic user.
Yeah. I guess that does make sense.
Also in attendance are some of their neighbors, Glynis and Ilya Zarkov.
Whoa, exciting for those neighbors, by the way.
They are also stage magicians and mutants. They are glamour and illusion.
Whoa.
I think they met Scarlet Witch and Vision when they were like trying to steal something from someone, but I'm not sure, but whatever.
Now my question is, were they glamour and illusion before they met each other? And they were like, this is perfect. We are 2 mutants. Your name's Glamour. Your name's Illusion. We're both magicians. Let's make this happen.
Also attending is Norm Webster, who sold Wanda and the Vision their house.
Oh, good.
You know how you just invite your realtor to Thanksgiving?
I always invite my realtor to all my family holidays.
Guys, I feel like the Vision and Scarlet Witch are kind of lonely.
I feel like they are.
They need normal friends, and one of their normal friends
But,
is...
like, do they? They know they invited Wasp, Captain America, Doctor Strange?
They invited all the Avengers.
Yeah.
Only 2 of them showed up.
Aw, that's really sad.
I mean, the others had, like, personal missions to go on in Captain America's words, or whatever, however he phrases it.
Personal missions.
I want to find, actually, how does he phrase it? He says... Oh, yep, personal missions. That is the phrase.
Personal missions is the phrase. Okay.
Also in attendance is Martha Williams, who's the mother of Simon Williams, which is the Avenger Wonder Man. And kind of the Vision, because
What?
the Vision's brainwaves are modeled after Wonder Man's.
That's right.
So they have kind of just come to treat each other as twins, like in this weird retroactive, like, well, we might as well just be like brothers because we're kind of like brothers, and I remember your mother, so
Weird.
like she treats him as like a son.
Very strange.
It's very odd. Then the doorbell rings, and Wanda Maximoff's father enters
Oh, no.
and says,
Well, we all know who that is.
and says, "Good afternoon, everyone. Men call me Magneto." By the way, he is wearing a green sweater and a brown jacket.
Oh, he's not in Magneto outfit?
Just civilian clothes.
That's great.
And the Vision takes his coat, and everyone in the room is just frozen with fists balled.
Right. Because he's a supervillain.
He's a terrorist, yeah.
He's destroyed so many things.
But I love that he enters, and he has the chance to say, hello, my name is Eric Lenscher.
Or just be like, hey, I'm just here for Thanksgiving.
Or Magnus, which I think is actually what we thought his name was at the time. His name's changed a couple times. But he says, men call me Magneto. It's like, oh, all right, cool. I mean, I guess his whole thing is that he doesn't go by the human name.
He doesn't go with the human
suppose.
name because it's a slave name or whatever.
Or whatever his thing is today. It changes.
It changes.
Anyway, he tries to present a gift to his granddaughter, Luna, but she shrinks away. Now, she's a toddler, so it's not like she knows.
She doesn't know that he's a super terrorist?
But Crystal says, oh, she's just shy. Think nothing of it. But Magneto's like, yeah, okay, cool. My granddaughter's afraid of me. Apparently, my reputation precedes me.
I feel like I made some wrong life choices. What was it? What was it that caused this?
The one decision. Pietro takes Wanda into the kitchen and yells at her for not telling him that Magneto was coming. And she says, well, I just called him to tell him about the baby because like everyone else knew but him. And then the topic of Thanksgiving came up. I just felt like I had to invite him.
I feel like that's her bad. I mean, like, I think should have led that, hey, Dad's coming to dinner. You know, our super villain terrorist father is coming.
She says, like, well, I thought you accepted him as our father. And Pietro's like, yeah, I live on the moon. I know when he's coming. Like, I don't really need to worry about him showing up, and I'm not expecting it.
Not a lot of transit to the moon.
Like, he says, a biological moment a generation ago when he fathered us does not outweigh the time he enslaved us in his brotherhood of evil mutants. And Wanda points out, like, well, none of us knew, including himself, none of us knew that we were his kids at the time. And Pietro's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm still mad you didn't warn me he was coming. And she starts crying because of pregnancy hormones.
Right.
Sure. Meanwhile, in the living room, Cap is not really dealing with the Magneto thing. He's just talking to Namor and the Vision. And
Namor's there?
Oh, yeah, Namor's there. When
great.
asked why Namor is there, like, what's going on, his response was, the sea is never still. Why should life be?
Oh, man. I so want a Namor yearly calendar now, where you just rip off one each day and it's just a different Namor phrase.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Oh, God.
Anyway, Captain America realizes, Vision, your body used to be the Human Torch, the original android Human Torch from the Golden Age.
Oh, yeah.
He is the body of the Human Torch. And like you, me, and Namor, we all served together. We were the invaders back in the Golden Age or back in World War II. Like,
Did he actually say the Golden Age?
No, he back in World War II.
Okay.
This is a reunion of sorts.
I mean, he could have recalled it the Golden Age.
I mean, he could have. I don't think he did.
Right.
But basically, it's a little reunion for the invaders. So, and they're like, oh, yeah, well, I mean, not really, because the Vision's like, yeah, I don't really remember any of that. And he's like, no, I know. But, like, let me have
Trust
this.
me, the stories are pretty cool.
All my friends are dead. Let me have this one.
Yeah, come on.
Just
guys.
one moment of, like, all my friends together.
Poor Captain America. I guess? I don't know.
Magneto tries to make small talk with the Zarkovs, but feels pretty out of place. And here's
Surprising.
Here's the thing. At this point in his life, he's on the good side.
Oh, he is?
He's helping to train the new mutants at the Xavier School.
Jeez,
and
man, what is the enrollment the staffing process like at that school, man? I just will never understand it.
But they went to go visit the Power Pack, and he was alone. And he's like, well, I should have stayed by myself. Better that than to be alone in a crowd. Which is kind of sad.
That is really sad.
Then everyone has a lovely, wonderful Thanksgiving dinner.
Okay.
And they're all enjoying themselves.
No incident or anything?
As they're eating, everyone's looking at Magneto, and like Namor is thinking about how Magneto tricked him into attacking the X-Men, and then they wound up in their own fight, Magneto and Namor. The Wasp remembers when he pitted the X-Men and the Avengers against each other, and he could have killed all of them if his lackey Toad hadn't gotten fed up with the constant abuse and turned on Magneto, which, he didn't treat anyone well.
No, he didn't.
Especially Toad.
That's kind of his thing. Especially Toad. Poor Toad.
Yeah, Toad kind of sucks, though.
Toad does kind of suck.
Martha Williams, Simon Williams' mother, didn't realize who Magneto was until his name was spoken, which is fair. She's like, how can everyone else be so calm? Of course, everyone's just seething into their food.
Yeah, but also, to be fair, these are like superheroes where they hang out with people who were probably villains like a year ago, and they'll probably be villains next year.
I mean, Namor's here.
Yeah, I know.
Namor destroyed a whole bunch of New York back in the 40s.
We talked about an episode where Namor just walked through New York City destroying stuff and declared lawsuit against the world.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
He's nobody's friend in a lot of cases.
And Doctor Strange is like, oh, I remember him, he almost destroyed the Defenders because Marvel wants you to read the Defenders.
They want you to read it so bad.
Meanwhile, Magneto's just sitting there drinking tea as everyone's just like thinking hateful thoughts around him.
Right.
The party starts to break up at the end of the night, and Captain America, Namor, Doctor Strange, and the Wasp all leave. They leave where the terrorist is just hanging out. I mean, he's reformed. He actually stood on trial. He was found innocent. So, like, what can they really do?
He was found innocent?
I think so. He also de-aged, so
sure.
Maybe he de-aged. So, like, well, that person
does he not have the white hair anymore?
He has the white hair, but like he's realistically like he wouldn't have been alive in the concentration camps. Like he would be much older than he is. So like
they had to de-age him at some point. If they still wanted to keep that backstory.
What happened is they reverted him to a baby, and then he aged up to like his 40s or something.
Sure.
So when he stood trial, I think that got him out. I think also Mystique attacked during the trial.
If I quote, baby versus Waid, that if one is baby eyes, then one must acquit or something. I'm a lawyer in this, I guess.
And then after he returned to man-sized, he stood trial, and they're like, well, it's not the same person.
So he was a baby?
I don't know. I think he got out of it because someone attacked the court, because that's probably what happens. Anyway, they leave. Those superheroes leave.
Yep, just leave the terrorists there. But I mean, like you said,
he's working with the X-Men,
and like
he's not gonna hurt his family.
Yeah, he's not gonna do anything like that.
The ladies start cleaning up, and Magneto's like, "Can I have a moment alone with my daughter?" And in the kitchen, he admits he was a bad father, and like Wanda's husband, he came to humanity a bit late. And he says he suffered in World War II. He swore eternal vengeance on those who persecute people different from them.
And to put things in perspective, pretty bad experience.
True.
Pretty bad experience, World War II.
Yeah, well, he says, like, his goals were pure, but they were muddled by his hatred towards the world. And when he mistreated Pietro and Wanda, when they were members of his brotherhood, it's because he barely saw them as people. And he asks for Wanda's forgiveness, and she says, no, the way you treated us was the way you'd been treated. Constant cruelty and the threat of death if we disobeyed you. That's, like, I cannot accept you. I can't give you forgiveness for the way that you've acted.
Right.
Because writing it off as, that's because of my past, you are repeating the mistakes of what happened to you.
Yeah.
The only reason they joined him in the first place, joined the Brotherhood, is because he rescued Wanda from an angry mob. The only reason Pietro even stuck around was to help protect Wanda and make sure she was safe. Didn't want to leave her alone with Magneto.
Which is just such a psychological healthy relationship for those two to be going through.
Yeah, really. Freeing themselves from him, she says, was the greatest moment of their lives, greater than when they joined the Avengers. She says she's not going to deny his rights as her child's grandfather. She's not going to completely shut him out. But if he wants acceptance, he's going to have to do a lot more to earn it.
Right, instead of just showing up for Thanksgiving. Basically, you show up for a free dinner. Like, sorry, Dad, you're going to have to do a little bit more than this.
Then a young woman shows up at the back door. Her name is Holly LaDonna, and she's shown up in earlier issues. And
Is she their plumber? Or no, they don't invite their plumber?
She shows up, she's like, I'm sorry, this is a bad time. I need to talk to you, Wanda, about something from an earlier issue referencing something else.
Sure.
A bad time.
Continuity, whatever.
And Wanda's like, no, we just finished. And Magneto just storms out, and he flies up into the sky with his, powers, because he flies.
Yeah, because he flies.
And then he looks down, he sees something, and he flies back down to the house. As he walks in, Vision and Martha are talking about how, Vision and Wanda both discovered their parents later in life. Vision discovered a lovely, wholesome woman. Wanda discovered that her father was Magneto.
Yeah.
That went very differently. And the Vision's mother says, I suppose it's silly after your brother, not Simon, but Simon's brother, became the Grim Reaper, but that man really frightened me, because Simon Williams' brother is the supervillain, the Grim Reaper. Sure. It's a complicated family. You'd think she'd be used to this sort of stuff by now. She even says she should be used to this sort of stuff by now.
Right.
Magneto comes in, he asks to talk to the Vision and Quicksilver outside.
Ooh.
Outside, Pietro says, look, we heard that fight, and, I don't know what you're planning, and Magneto's like, shut up, we're under attack. I don't want to panic Wanda, but something's about to attack us. And
I don't want to panic the reality-changing pregnant woman?
Right. And he pushes back the bushes, and the Silver Age Brotherhood of Mutants is there,
What?
including Mastermind, who's the guy who can mess with people's minds.
Okay.
Toad, speaking of,
Hey!
and Quicksilver in his classic green costume.
Oh, no.
And Magneto. These people seem to have all the powers of their counterparts. You know, Magneto's opposite has Magneto powers, and they all have the personalities because Magneto's counterpart sounds a lot like Silver Age Magneto.
Makes sense.
Yeah, shouting about how inferior they are and
Of
stuff
course.
like that. The Vision's able to take on classic Quicksilver by using his density shifting. So when like Quicksilver charges at him, he turns intangible, and Quicksilver runs right through him. He charges at him again. He's like, "Oh, I'll match your, I'll hit you this time." And Vision turns super dense, and Quicksilver just
hits him like
bounces
a wall.
off of him.
Nice.
Mastermind puts everybody in a hallucinatory state.
Oh, no.
But guess who's part robot? Guess who's mostly robot? Guess who's a robot?
Yeah.
It's the Vision.
Yep.
He starts to attack Mastermind, but Toad intervenes, gets in the way of them. Vision
I'll stop you, said the Toad.
Vision grabs Toad, and he's like, "Wait, I've remembered something very important from the Avengers archives. Hold on. Magneto, you can do that thing where you mess with people's blood because you can control the iron in people's blood, right?"
Right.
When he's in this hallucinatory state, he can't do it against Mastermind because he doesn't know where anyone is. He'd have to do it to everyone.
He has to like really focus.
Yeah,
I guess.
but he can induce like amnesia or paralysis by controlling the blood in your body.
Does he? So he has like almost like Superman vague powers, where
Yeah.
like Superman from the movies could like kiss someone and make them forget for some reason.
There's an early issue of the X-Men where he uses his magnetic powers, or maybe his just focus state, whatever, to meet Charles Xavier on the astral plane.
Okay.
So
sure.
either he's
What?
either he's super enlightened and able to ascend to the astral plane, or magnets.
We've said a lot of weird things about mutant powers on the show. This is a little bit too far.
Anyway, the Vision says, like, "Hey, Magneto, I'm about to put Toad's face against your hand. Like, do your thing. Like, take the blood out of his head to, like, give him a lightheaded and, like,
But don't
knock
kill
him
him.
out. Don't kill him. Just knock him out." And he does, and as soon as Toad collapses, all the other Brotherhood members collapse to the ground.
Whoa.
Inert. And
Toad has superpowers?
well, he does.
Yeah, but he's more superpower. Useful superpowers.
Magneto is baffled that Toad could be capable of... The Toad could be capable
Of anything.
literally anything. But the Vision remembers, "Oh yeah, no, I've heard about this. Toad recently stole a bunch of alien technology."
Of course.
From an alien
I
called...
read that in the paper, the superhuman paper we get every morning.
From an alien called the Stranger. Last time,
Oh, I know about the stranger.
he had illusion powers, but now he's apparently moved on to robots and synthetics. Toad wakes up, and he says, "Yeah, I did it all for the love of Scarlet Witch," because he's in love with Scarlet Witch.
Whoa.
And he's like, "Well, when I first freaked out when I heard she was getting married to the robot. Now I've heard she's pregnant, and I guess he just wanted to like intervene. I don't know what his plan
Yeah,
was.
what was his
just
plan?
Maybe it was if I can't have her, no one can, or abductor. It is never stated
Maybe
what
it's
his
like
goal
a
was.
robotics of passion. You
Let's-
know how sometimes you get so passionate you build robots
you
out
know
of
what?
love?
Let's not start exploring where this
No,
goes.
no? Okay.
Let's not start peeling back the layers.
This is a dark rabbit hole.
Yeah, there's nothing good in Toad's mind.
Nothing at the
when we
bottom.
go down this line of questioning. Magneto says Toad is unimaginative and a loser. Like he says, apparently you already tried this. Vision, he had illusion powers. I was like, oh yeah, this happened. Like he attacked us with illusion powers. He's like, you knew this wasn't going to work. Then a spaceship shows up above them, and Magneto realizes it must not have any metal on it. He would have sensed its approach otherwise, and it casts a force field down around Toad, so he's safe from them. And he boasts about how he's stolen alien technology from the stranger's world, and he has powers the others can't imagine, and he summons his replica Brotherhood, which have woken up by this point, and they enter the force field with him, and Toad shouts I'm gonna destroy those who looked down on me because I was different, and
Whoa.
that includes Magneto, because Magneto is...
Well,
an
to be honest, if
ass.
Toad had a hit list, I would probably imagine Magneto's number one.
Then the duplicate Quicksilver, the one in the green costume, knocks Toad out,
Okay.
because it's not duplicate Quicksilver. Quicksilver switched costumes with the duplicates.
Oh, clever.
Because that's the thing that he can do. The Vision thanks them for their help and says, well, this is going to go a long way to changing Wanda's mind. And Magneto's like, no, don't tell her I had anything to do with this. Don't tell her I was involved. She told me to earn my acceptance. If she hears about this, she's basically going to think that he fought this battle just to accomplish her acceptance. And he says, oh, by the way, at this point, when they transition to a new page, Quicksilver's costume changes from green to blue, which I love the idea that it just like
It's
happens.
in the blink of an eye, yeah.
I love that.
It's not a comic error. It's just like, yeah, it's his powers.
It's like
He's
'cause
called Quicksilver.
It 100% works. Magneto says he doesn't grovel or seek to curry favor, nor must he be perceived of as doing so. His new mission is to earn the world's acceptance, and he says, let my conduct there earn my daughter's respect.
Oh, Magneto.
And my son's. Then he flies away and tells them to thank Wanda for an excellent Thanksgiving. No one does anything about Toad.
Nobody
That
does.
spaceship's still there.
It's still there.
They just leave it.
You know why? Because they're like, are we going to handle... Oh, it's Toad. No, we don't need to do anything. It's Toad. His super mutant power is to be lame, right? That's like one of the secret ones.
Quicksilver and the Vision go inside, and they find out Wanda tells them that she's agreed to teach Holly some witchcraft. This girl who came by...
Okay.
Because Agatha Harkness, who's a person of magic and stuff in Marvel, she told Wanda recently that Wanda had lost her edge in magic, which she thinks is true. So Wanda thinks this will be a good chance to stay in shape mystically, even while she loses her physical prowess. After all, she says, you never know what will happen next around here. And the Vision says, no, and Quicksilver finishes, you never do.
Pull out to just spaceships still on the front lawn.
And the caption at the end says, but we know what that next month brings, that ancient Yule log burning bright. Because Christmas is coming up, guys.
That's nice. Well, at least they're like, hey, it's actually going to be fine, at least for now.
For now.
Until she goes crazy and does terrible stuff.
We'll get there.
So that was our main segment, and that'll take us to our game, Super-Mundane. Alright, this is Super-Mundane. This is the game where I name a mundane task or activity, and Mike and I will have to figure out which hero from Marvel or DC would be the best and worst at this specific activity. So Mike, for this Super-Mundane, who would be the best and worst at hosting a Thanksgiving meal?
Well,
We know right away it's not going to be Scarlet Witch, because
Right.
that means Toad robots and a spaceship and an awkward encounter with her father.
at minimum, awkward encounter with her father.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like what we...
That's a given.
That's all we really know.
And I think we have to take this as, like, it's not only, like, who would be good at hosting, but also we have to keep in mind, like, would we want to attend this Thanksgiving dinner? Because I probably, as much as it would be interesting to meet Magneto, I don't think I'd probably really want to be around him.
That's totally fair.
Yeah,
That's
because
absolutely
he's a
fair.
supervillain terrorist. So who would be the best at hosting a Thanksgiving dinner that you'd just be like, oh, man, I do want to go to that?
I want to say Captain America.
Why do you want to say Captain America?
I don't know. It just feels right in my heart.
Oh man, can you imagine Captain America in like a full, like, if he dressed up like a pilgrim outfit?
Yes.
Like with the giant buckle and the giant buckle hat?
The buckle has an A on it,
That would be adorable.
and there's wingtips on it.
Bucky's wearing a giant turkey outfit.
Yes.
So, like, who would attend Captain America's Thanksgiving?
I mean, the Avengers.
I mean, the Avengers for sure.
You've got Daredevil and She-Hulk, and like people who are sort of ancillary characters. Spider-Man's there.
They would all show
Aunt
up.
May's there. I think he widens the net. I think Jarvis gets to go.
Yeah, of course.
I'd almost like to see a Themysciran Thanksgiving,
Ooh. That
right? Like a Wonder Woman Thanksgiving.
would be pretty cool.
It'd be pretty dope.
Yeah, they'd all have, like, pretty cool adventures to talk about.
Yeah, they would.
But she couldn't invite a lot of people because
Well,
they've
she
got some
also-
strict rules in Themyscira.
Or if she brought the tradition here, it'd be weird. It'd be not our Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Like
Ooh, what's a Themyscira Thanksgiving about?
the
Like
day they killed all those men. Probably, right?
there
Probably.
are some analogs to actual Thanksgiving there.
The time we killed all those people.
Yep, all those people. Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some relations there. That would be a very interesting Themyscira Thanksgiving.
I kind of feel like it's going to be someone like Superman. Because, like, you know, Captain America can do a lot, but Superman can do it super fast.
And the other thing, too, about Thanksgiving is I feel like it's supposed to feel like a very homey kind of holiday. Where, like, you know, Christmas can be grand and fun and heartwarming, and, like, Halloween's obviously crazy. But, like, Thanksgiving, to me at least, I feel like is like a holiday where you want to feel like you're in a home. You're in, like, something close to you from a family perspective.
It's literally the only tradition for that holiday.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, when you break it down, like, Thanksgiving is the one that doesn't have a lot of other trappings.
Yeah, it doesn't
It's
have a
not
lot of
like
other bells and whistles.
Christmas where you cut down a tree and you bring it into your house and you throw all the lights outside. It's not like trick or treat where you wander around people's homes and bang on their door and ask them for stuff. It's not like, you know, Valentine's Day where you cut down all your neighbors' flowers and then you give them to someone and they call you a stalker and their boyfriend beats you up. That's not a real story. That didn't happen.
Oh, geez, Mike. We've got so many things to talk about.
It's a different holiday because it's not even like 4th of July or New Year's. Like, there's not...
grandioseness
The
that goes
accepted
along
tradition
with it.
is part of every tradition, which is you get down and you have some food with your friends or your family. And it's just that.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, we've all agreed turkey is kind of our thing, and there's a few others like cranberry sauce or mashed potatoes, but there's some take it or leave it. It's just be with people you like and thank them for stuff.
And that's why I think, honestly, I think Captain America would be better at that than Superman, because Superman's home away from home is like a giant glacier house. Like, it's not a home-warming environment. That's not like, the old wood that built this old girl here. Like,
I mean, he could definitely have some folks over to the Kent farm.
true,
but-
the Ken farm is very home-like.
But honestly, we've already done
Superman.
So I think we have to give it to Captain
America for sure.
He's the Norman Rockwelliest of any character.
Absolutely. So if Captain America is our best, who's our worst for hosting a Thanksgiving event? I'm trying to think. Scarlet Witch is pretty bad, clearly.
Guy Gardner.
Guy Gardner?
It's Guy Gardner.
Oh,
Guy
man.
Gardner'd be all kinds of bad at Thanksgiving.
He would be terrible at Thanksgiving. His guests would be fun, just because I would get to see Kilowog at Thanksgiving.
We should explain who Guy Gardner is first. of all.
Sorry. For anyone that doesn't know, Guy Gardner is a Green Lantern, but he's
a jerk.
He's a jerk. He's distilled down to like Hal Jordan is like the flyboy, cocky hotshot. John Stewart,
theoretically likable. With Hal
John
Jordan.
Stewart is like the noble military strategic-esque Green Lantern. Kyle Rayner's kind of the goofball Green Lantern.
He's the Spider-Man Green Lantern.
Yeah.
He's the legacy Green Lantern, really.
And Guy Gardner is quite literally just a jerk.
Well, the premise of his character when they designed him was, what would someone who didn't have fear actually be like? He'd be insufferable. He'd be awful to be around.
So Guy Gardner's Thanksgiving, it would be people that would tolerate him, which is not many. So it would probably be some of the Green Lantern Corps, but you'd also have like really weird people from the Green Lantern Corps.
You'd probably have his like Justice League alumni, like you'd have Booster Gold and Blue Beetle and Fire and Ice, but it would be a disaster.
Oh, absolutely. Booster Gold stories would just be insufferable. They'd be bloated and mostly made up. Guy Gardner would start some fight at some point. I think he gets punched in almost every comic he's in.
The only reason I could picture him like hosting is if it was like, okay, it's a rotation, and like this year it's your turn.
Oh, because all the lanterns, like Kyle threw it last year, Hal threw it the year before, John Stewart. Oh, okay.
This is the Justice League, because like, why would the Green Lanterns do Thanksgiving?
Maybe there's 4 of them that have the same territory,
That's true.
which is just insane.
That's also true. So he'd probably invite all those other earthy Green Lanterns, but like he is a hotshot and a braggadocio, and he like
without the charm that Hal Jordan has.
Right, theoretically has. Well, that's a different conversation.
Yep.
We might even talk about Hal Jordan next episode, so we'll find out. He thinks he's the best at everything, and he's just not.
Yeah, he would be insufferable, and his guests might be really weird space aliens who knows what they eat.
Yeah, it'd be bad news bears.
Hey, maybe the giant living planet would come.
Mogo doesn't socialize, Jay, unless they host
They host it on Mogo. There we go.
That's great, actually.
That's actually pretty fun.
That's actually pretty nice.
Yeah. So
DC, we're hireable.
Yeah, we are. We'll write that comic. So I think best is definitely Captain America.
For sure.
I mean, the more I think about it, it's just there's so much warmth and like care there. Like it would just be so great.
Yeah.
And then of course the worst is anything hosted by Guy Gardner.
Yeah.
Anything that he's responsible for is probably bad.
True.
All right, guys. Well, that was episode 41 of Because Comics. We'll be posting a new episode every other week. If you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. Of course, you can email us any questions at becausecomics@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr, all at Partial Arc.
Wait, we're probably talking about Star Wars next episode. Sorry, we'll talk about Hal Jordan some other time.
Yeah, we'll talk about him soon.
I feel like we're talking about Star Wars
Probably
next
Star
month.
Wars. And be sure to check out more content from our comic boy wonder, Mike Christensen, at partialarc.com, where he writes articles every Tuesday and Thursday. Thanks for listening, and remember...
There's an American Psycho 2.
Oh, I know about this!
It stars Mila Kunis.
Yes, it does!
And William Shatner. And the title, Jay, do you know the title?
No, I don't.
American Psycho 2, All American Girl.
Oh my god!
Because comics.